The clamor and the clatter of instant keys can bring a nation to its knees. On the wings of an eagle like a bird of prey.
Well, your new album, Invincible Shield, will be released next month. More than 50 years have passed, and it seems that Judas Priest has more fuel than ever. How do you manage to maintain this energy, this passion, this quality?
Well, it's always a drive because, as you mentioned, Priest have been around for 50 years. You know, they laid the legacy, they laid the blueprint for what heavy metal is today. You know, so there's always a strive, I think, to do. There's a determination to do better, to give 1,000% because of that legacy. And as far as the passion, I don't think you can fake the passion that we have for the band. You know, we go in there, we love to create, we love each other, we love the fans, we love the music, and you go in to the writing session and you try to do something that you might not have done before, or sounds better than before, or a better song, better performance, better guitar solo. I think the drive is always to do something better, because of the passion that we all have. And it's not, you don't have to put that on, you know. That's part of you, that's part of us. That's what we do and try and do. So we just go in there, give 1,000%, and hopefully we come up with a batch of songs that we think are really strong, and go from there.
Awesome. And tell us, how was the process of writing and producing this new album? Did you start during the pandemic? Was after that?
Well, fortunately, we had a couple of writing sessions before the pandemic. So we had the songs, we had demos for rough versions of these songs before the lockdowns happened, which was really fortunate because then we could add bits to them during the pandemic. No one was touring, no one was doing anything. So we had some time to develop those songs. And then when the pandemic was over, when the lockdowns were lifted, we were then on tour. So we had to record the record around the tour, you know. So but we were in a kind of unique position, really. We have our producer on tour with us. You know, Andy plays guitar live with us and he produces the record. So we were able to record some bass, for example, on the road. I remember being with Ian in the hotel room with some bass stuff, and Andy was recording it. So we were lucky that we had Andy with us to be able to capture those things. But then we just got it together where we could, and the producers put it together and made it sound like a complete record. So they did a great job pulling the performances out of us. So usually we get together as much as we can and record, but because of the pandemic and the tour, we had to do it slightly differently. But there's always a challenge when you're making a record. You know, I remember when I was young, you might not have had enough money to pay for the studio time, or the studio might be too small, or whatever the challenge is. So that was our challenge. And I think every album has a challenge, and that's what makes it special. The story of the record becomes unique to the album, you know?
Yes. Tell us, this is your third album in a decade. Redeemer of Souls, then Firepower, and now you have Invincible Shield. You know, these days the music industry prefers quick releases. Many bands just release singles or maybe some EPs. Why do you prefer this more traditional route?
Well, I think it was timing, really. It was our schedules and timing, when we could record it, as we spoke about. It was ready when it was ready, you know, and I think it's a traditional classic heavy metal band. And we released the record in a traditional way, you know. I think the album is still important to us. When you listen to the album from start to finish, there's a dynamic through the record, you know. I think that's important to us as well. I don't think we're adverse to doing different styles of releases, EPs or singles or stuff like that. But I think for us, it's important to release an album as an album. And then you get the whole context of the songs, the statement that we make, and the dynamic of the album. I think that's why we do it that way.
Euthanizing then begins. The clock is ticking down to doomsday. Panic attack, panic attack.
Awesome. And how are you? Because some time ago you suffered this heart accident, you know, and you seem to be pretty well now. You had changed your perspective on your life and your career and your music after that.
Well, it becomes very real that, you never know what's around the corner. You never know what's coming next. You know, none of us are here forever. And that kind of brings it home really on a really real sense. So it does make you think, if you've got anything to do that you want to do, if you've got a book to write or a family member that you haven't seen for a long time or a song to write, it makes you definitely think, do it, because you never know what's around the corner. Not to say that, you panic, I'm not, hopefully I'm not going to die tomorrow, but it just makes you think a bit differently about mortality and doing things that you want to do and living life to your fullest, really. I think that's what really hammers it home.
Did you ever think about retirement after this?
Not really. I think if I couldn't do it, if what happened to me, if there was if the outcome was that I couldn't do it, then I would have to consider that, But I've been fortunate, man. I've recovered. I've had a great recovery team at home, and the hospitals and surgeons, they've been great, and the fans as well. They've been really supportive. So I could get back to touring, to playing, and I've been fortunate with that. So, but if there ever came a time where I couldn't do it, like everyone says, really, if you can't do it, then don't do it anymore, But fortunately, that day hasn't come yet.
Awesome. You were part of this massive power trip festival, an event full of legends, including, of course, Judas Priest. Does it give you a kind of insight the huge legacy the band has given to the world?
Well, I always knew that when I joined the band. I knew what Priest stood for. I knew what it means, um, to us, the fans, and I knew what it meant to be asked, considered to be in that position. So I always felt like Judas Priest, as we all know, have a massive effect on music and heavy metal, and the way metal music is today is because of the groundwork that Priest and other bands laid in the past. So it was a celebration really of Priest, Maiden, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Tool, Metallica. They're all bands that have shaped music and shaped metal to the way it is today. So it was great to be there flying the flag for Priest, for metal, and for British metal, us and Maiden. We were there, and it was just a celebration. It was great to be a part of that and to see our peers, AC/DC as well. I mean, it's phenomenal. So just to be a part of that was incredible.
Well, as you said before, no one will be here forever, and age is something that does not forgive anyone. So honestly, how much longer do you think Judas Priest has left? Could you ever consider to continue without, for example, Rob Halford or Ian Hill?
Well, it's not for me to say, really. Those guys were the originators of Priest metal, and they're still doing it. And it's up to them, really. If they ever feel like they don't want to do it or they can't do it anymore, that's for them to decide. Um, and when I joined the band, it was only for one tour, and that was going to be the farewell tour. So obviously, I've had to think about what I'm going to do after Priest, from that time. For all I know, that was gonna be the only tour. Then I'd have to do something after that. So it's always been a part of my mindset. But as long as Priest are here and we all want to do it together and they want to do it and push on, then I'm here for it. I'm here to fly the flag for them, however long they want to do it.
Awesome. Well, do you have plans for coming to Latin America, to Mexico with Invincible Shield?
Well, as these tours always go, we're starting off in Europe at this time, and then we're going to America. But these tours always grow, so we're always adding dates or looking at opportunities where we can get to South America, we can get to Asia, we can get to different parts of the world. So I'm sure, I mean, we always play in Mexico and South America whenever we do a Priest tour. So we should be there at some point. And as soon as we know when that's going to be, we'll let you guys know.